jets.
Zero on cleared for takeoff. Yes, sir. Paso Robles, there's the flight line. There's Paso Robles. We're not there yet. We've got 18 minutes and we'll be right there.
November 200, connect upward turn on 128.7, 28.7 today.
28.7, good.
He's just here. Well, we walked in the golf shop. He's here. He might not be out there. Who are you looking for, sister? Mark. He just got in the golf shop when we were coming out. I'll go get him. I'll save you a spot for you.
Stand in front of me instead of behind. Don't stand behind me.
That's right.
Okay, welcome everybody to our 5th annual Golf Classic with Mr. Couples, whom I'll introduce in just a moment. Of course, nobody here knows him yet. I understand. We'll introduce him. He cut his hair, so we're not really sure.
Last year?
Yeah.
That's short. That's about 10 years ago.
No. That's way over us. That's the Shell.
Yeah.
Houston. Okay, well, welcome once again to our tournament. We hope you all have a great time today. Thank you so much for coming out and spending your day to help St. Vincent's raise money for women and children. And you certainly will have an opportunity to meet a couple of the women this evening at our dinner, and they'll share their stories with you. But right now, I want to introduce a couple of people who made this tournament possible. First of all, our two major sponsors, Santa Barbara Bank and Trust. Please come out. Santa Barbara Bank and Trust has been our title sponsor for 4 years, and this tournament would not be what it is without them, and we're certainly grateful to them. And then we have our next sponsor, and I think somebody went to get him, Mark Malchiori.
He's coming right now.
He's coming down here. Well, we'll bring him out as soon as he comes. And Mark Malchiori, last year, put a foursome together to play with Fred. And this year, he's made it possible for all of you to play with Fred. He is the sponsor who is sponsoring Fred on hole 18 so that everybody here gets an opportunity to swing with the best. So we'll bring Mark out as soon as he gets down here.
Ooh, I love that.
Oh, here he comes. Mark, come out.
Wherever you are.
Mark Malchiori of Malchiori. Yay! And then we have our master sponsors. And would you raise your hand when I call your name? Ann Jackson Family Foundation. Is Palmer here yet, or somebody from the family?
Jim's here. I'm here.
There you are. Jim. Oh, there you are. Nellie, where are you?
Right here.
There he is. Stan from Washington Mutual. Are you here? Okay. The McFarland family. Is Jim here yet? His wife has been here working since 7:30 this morning. He'll be here. The McFarland family. St. Francis Medical Center of Linwood. Where are you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. These are our title sponsor, our sponsor for hole 18, and all of our master sponsors. Thank you very much. Thanks for making this possible. So, if you ever need a bank or a building, Tom and Mark.
They come together.
They come together. Actually, Fred doesn't need any introduction. You all know, and it's on your program, he's a 15-time winner on the PGA Tour.
I want one more.
And included,
50 maybe.
well, coming right up here.
She said the nut's coming right up here.
October 3rd, so how about a happy birthday?
Yeah.
Included in his 15 wins, you all know that he owns a green jacket. He's the 1992 Masters champion. We're going to have a clinic here with one of the all-time best golfers. Please welcome Fred Couples.
Yeah.
It's
it's not that funny of a story, but I did do a clinic on Saturday, but I didn't hit a ball. I went and helped out Tiger with his foundation down in Irvine. We were at actually Mesa Verde. So I got there and I had my bag. They set my bag up, and then he started hitting balls. And you know, I thought, what the hell? What am I going to do? I feel a little bit better about being in Santa Barbara. But it was pretty phenomenal. And like I always do, he got right into, you know, I was doing most of the talking and talking about him and his swing, and I asked him a few questions, and everyone else did too. So that's basically what we're going to do here. I've got Mike Woosley over here, who's a teacher in Santa Barbara, and Greg, who teaches, and a bunch of guys, so they'll probably leave laughing at half the stuff I talk about. But I am basically a believer in that A, golf's very, very difficult, and B, there's an overload to the game. So you try and make it simple, and you try and do your best, and if you go out and hit 2 good shots today, you know, it's a good thing. And we're so critical on it. So when I'm practicing, when I'm playing, you know, I have a nonchalant attitude, but a lot of it is there's hard work, and I've been working with Butch Harmon the last few years. And when I go see Butch, I usually go for a couple days, and I just say, Butch, check my swing out, watch me hit them, but I really only want to work on one thing. And we're going to bounce around here today, and someone over here may ask me about a grip or a stance, and someone over here may ask me, you know, how do you hit it a long way? There's no secret to any better swing. And what I try and tell people is the best thing you can do is really have proper balance. And right now baseball's going on, and you see pitchers or you see people throwing. It's there, you know, they talk about mechanics, and in golf there's so many mechanics to hit the ball, whether you swing like Jim Furyk or you swing like Davis Love, who I think has one of the prettiest swings around, but we're all different heights. Some people are 6'2", some people are 5'9", so your swings are all going to be different. And what I've always found, that I haven't played for about a little over a month. I've been a little sick, but I'm doing great. And when last week I started to play, I actually widened, I don't know why, I widened my stance to get better balance. And I know a lot of you don't play a lot, and when you go out there, you know, it seems so easy to, you know, try and hit the ball in the middle of the club face, but when you're doing it, it's all about balance. And what happens when you get bad balance, for me, is I actually swing this way, where my body doesn't turn behind the ball, I go that way, and when you're there, it can go this way. And so even though it looks okay, my balance is all right, but in reality, you always want to get to your left side. And when you're practicing and playing, it's totally different, because I've got 300 balls here. So every one I hit, I'm not even worried about a yardage. I'm really not aiming. I'm just trying to work on getting a swing and flow. So when I go on the course, I have some kind of rhythm and timing. So if I can do it here, I should be able to do it there. The problem we have is, how far do you hit a 7-iron?
150.
150. So what do you hit when you're 143 or 4?
Choke down 7-iron.
Okay, and what do you hit when you're 158?
Slam 7-iron.
Right. You're no different. So I hit a 7-iron, you know, 160. But when I have 154, then I change my swing. So almost every time you see a perfect golf shot, you'll hear a guy say, well, I had a perfect yardage. And all that is a driving range swing. So that's what my caddy says when when he gives me yardage, and he'll say, you got 124 yards, it's just a driving range wedge. He doesn't tell me, you got to nuke a wedge when I have to hit it hard. I already know if I'm 130, I got to hit it full. So what happens is that what we do is, how many times when you practice do you hit a choke down 7-iron?
Never.
Never. So you're just swinging. So when you get on the course, we get so hooked up in this yardage. And so what Butch would say is, hey, as long as you're not going over water, make the same swing. If it goes long or short, you're 15 or 20 feet either way. And when you start trying to choke down sevens, you roll hook them, you try and hit them hard, you know, you push or pull them, it starts to wander this way. But if you just stand up there and hit a really good normal 7-iron, it should narrow in closer to where you're trying to go. And I think a lot of this stuff, very few times you think about, but when you go out there, you want to hit your best shot. So if you miss-hit a 7-iron, obviously it's not going to go 150 or 45 yards like you want it to. But if you're swinging okay and you're in good rhythm and timing, you shouldn't miss-hit that many of them. But when you start hitting them easy and hard, then it becomes, you know, 2 out of 10. And that's no different than the pros. And every time you see some guy, they'll say, well, you know, I was just trying to chip a 9-iron in there and I came off of it and I hit it in the bunker and I made bogey. If a guy took a 9-iron out and hit it 30 feet by the hole, he'd probably make a couple birdies and never make a bogey. So that's what golf has a tendency to do to you. And I am a firm believer that unless you're playing in wind or you're doing, you know, a shot that's a lot safer to hit one hard to get it over the water, if you just swing within yourself every time, I think no matter what kind of game you have, it'll get better. And if we all have time to go work with a pro and do that once a week, then obviously your game will get much better because everyone will help you. If you work on your game, you're going to get better. And I think what happens is when you get away from it, you go out there and you don't have much feel, so you have 8 good holes, 10 bad holes, and then you get to the point where you get sick of the game, you know, and that's, I can relate to that a lot, especially the way I'm hitting it now. But, you know, I say the same thing, there's not much, you know, you can change from year to year out here, and some of you have been through 5 or 6 of these now, but it's very difficult to sit here and like Johnny Miller, I listen to him a lot on TV, and he always talks about this brush. And what he's trying to get you to do is make contact, not steep and not thin hitting up. What he wants is ball just to brush the ground.
Sweet.
And a lot of these things are so simple, but no matter how you swing, if you're thinking about that, even if you come this way, about making your divot, well, I didn't make a divot, but making your divot thin. You're going to hit the ball a little more consistent. And a lot of times practicing, I try not to take too big of a divot. And just by doing that, it'll help me get through the ball better. Some of this stuff is a little mind-boggling, but it helps my body clear to the left more, which will keep the club level. And when I don't, I get that move where I come down and I actually make a divot and it goes to the right, which to get the ball not to go to the right, you flip at it. And that's some of my swing problems. So instead of getting up there and having Butch say, okay, I want you to really, you know, clear your body and, you know, make sure you're facing a door. Some of us, it's hard to do just because of the way we swing a club. So if tomorrow you had, you know, Phil Mickelson out here, he'd be swinging, well, obviously the wrong side, but he'd be telling you, you know, stuff that he likes to do. He's got a long swing, but he's got phenomenal talent. He's got great hands. And then you get someone like Nick Price, whose swing is short and quick. He's all by just perfect swing, speed of his swing. His swing's got to have rhythm and timing, but it's got to be quick and firm. And when he slows down, he gets off. And when I slow down, I get off. So I can't really get long and loose. So for you out there, when you're out there, a lot of times, you know, when you're hitting even a 7-iron, you want to be aggressive. And don't be timid. Go ahead and spank it. Now, you know, 4 or 5 days ago when I started, I wasn't really hitting the ball that well after a layoff, and it's hard to swing at it when you're mishitting it half the time. So it takes a while, and I've been, you know, I didn't play yesterday, but I've been back for 5 days, and I feel like I'm getting a little better. But I got, you know, you'll see next Thursday when we play Vegas, you'll see how the scores are, about where I'm at, but I want to get out and play. Any questions?
You know, Fred,
Yeah.
when you go to other than the driving range swing, and now you're just saying, now I want to hit it. What's the one big thought you've got to say, what do I now have to do different? I know you're saying hit it harder, swing right, or you coming through it faster, or you turn. What's the one thought you have that says, I really got to get
Well,
down on
that's a great question. So, if in fact, I mean, I'll hit a normal 7-iron, and I don't know if we'll see it land because of the slope, but now if I had 5 more yards, and I, hit 7-iron, I want to hit it harder, I widen my stance a little bit, not as wide as I have it now, but I basically just hit it harder. I don't get up to the top and try and hit it from the top. It starts, from the minute I stand over it, and like I said at the beginning, I am all visual and feel. So if you said hit it low, I try and look low. I don't move the ball much. I just get my body to hit it low. If I want to hit it high, I try and picture the ball going up over that tree. And so, it's like playing basketball. If you're guarding me, I'm going to shoot over you normally, and then if I get some guy 6'7", I've got to have feel to get it to a certain point. You just don't throw it up high. So if I'm going to go over that tree, I'm certainly not going to make a normal swing, so I'm going to tell my body to adjust. So when I'm going to hit it harder, I mean, I'd like to be able to answer that, but right now I'm telling myself, I'm going to smoke it. And I go through the ball harder. That's it. So backswing's the same, but once I get to here, I'm trying to hit it 4 feet farther, 2 yards further.
You're not going back farther and
no.
Got it. Okay.
Freddie, I have a question. We see very few professional players or amateurs playing without a glove. Talk to us a little about your grip pressure through the swing.
Well, that's a great, and I think in the last couple years, my grip's gotten tighter. I used to, and I for some reason, it's one of the things that I'm having an unbelievably hard time doing is, I used to be able to step up to the ball and you could come and just pull the club, just yank it right out of my hands. I mean, that's kind of like Julius Boros, he had a waggle and I have a soft little waggle, and my hands aren't always moving, but they move around. And then, as Mike said, it's the change of direction. So once I would go back, a lot of times, not good, but I would actually have when I was younger, a little bit of a flip. So I learned to get rid of that. But at impact, there's been few pictures where my hand is literally, when they stop and they have those cameras like that, and my left hand's holding on to it. But the change of direction for me, it just happens. So it's like baseball where you're doing all this and the ball comes, and then you do that. In golf, it's the same way. Once you get here, I don't go, but it just all comes together. So when you're at a dress, you don't want your veins popping out. I mean, we all say this every time, but you want to melt a little bit, but it's become very, very hard. I physically have not been able to do it. I grip it much tighter, and it's not a good feeling because everything just doesn't feel right. So that is one thing that I am trying to do, and it's been, 5 or 6 months of just, I don't know why. It seems very weird because 26 years I've been playing, I've never really, you should be able to do one thing. I mean, I might have a strong grip, I can't change that, but to get it to where you want to feel comfortable, it's hard for me to do. Yes, sir.
After the Ryder Cup disaster, I guess is what they would call it, is there anything Lehman could have done? And then the next question is, are you going to be the next captain?
No, I pushed hard last year to get it, or whenever they picked Tom, and I wanted Jay Haas as an assistant, and then Jay wanted to be the captain, and people wanted him, and I was going to be his assistant. And then with Tom, he did a phenomenal job, but it's just the extra little things, and everyone says, and when you do look at it, they don't look the same. The European guys are smiling, and I don't have any feel for that. I remember being on the 10th hole at the Belfry, and Tom Watson came up, and I literally, being nervous and being behind, I told him I said, get the hell away from me. Because, I can't go up to you and tell you how to go to work. when you want to be there at 7 every day, and then your brother or best friend might want to get there at 7:30, but he gets the job done. We're just not getting the job done. And Tom Lehman did a great job. I had Ray Floyd, Watson, Dave Stockton. And then we went and Dave Stockton, we had different kind of dinners. He let us play whenever you have structured playing time. You got 30,000 people out there on Tuesday. If the team doesn't show up, they go crazy. So what they do is you go out and you play 9 holes, or you'll play 1 through 6, and then you'll go play the last 3 holes. And Dave Stockton let us do that. I've been on other teams where we played Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, hit balls after every round. We chipped and putted. By Friday, you're exhausted. Well, you don't do that at the U.S. Open. I mean, why would your captain want you doing that there? So there's so many little things. But from, I was telling Michael earlier, from what I saw, they're just better. They're not better players, but they're better. And they drink together, they stay together. I don't buy. It's golf. They team the same guys all the time. Now there were some different guys this year, like Henrik Stenson. I should know a few more names. I'm blank. But Lee Westwood and Darren Clark are unbeatable. Sergio, or whoever Jose Maria plays with, used to be Seve. They're unbeatable, and they're going to win. Just like Tiger and Phil were supposed to be unbeatable. Well, they couldn't win. Tiger and Furyk, I think, did very, very well, but we don't have 2 other guys that are different that go out and win every match. And it's not a knock on Phil, but he there was a President's Cup where we tied over in South Africa. He went 0 for 5. I don't even know his record this year, but he struggles, and it's bad timing. He doesn't play much after the PGA, so he had a month off. He probably didn't practice as hard, but I think he played fine. But I think when Phil plays well, the whole team plays well, and I think Paul Azinger will be our next captain, and then Nick Faldo is already theirs. So those 2 guys, they're trying to match up a little bit. They have a little bit of history, and it should be pretty interesting. Yes, sir.
When you've got a big carry to get over, water, canyon, something like that, what should be going through an amateur's head?
Well, I'd like to say I'm not bright, but I'm not stupid. So, are you telling me, to carry it over that canyon, or to carry it, to the 3rd tee? It all depends on
whatever's hard for you. I don't mean you. What should
no,
we
I'm
what
trying
should
to.
we be thinking?
So, when you've got a canyon that you can carry, if you just hit a good one, right?
Right.
So you need to go through your
You just
routine.
gotta hit it totally solid.
And what happens is you're no different. I think you're worried about, the canyon, if you mishit it. But what I like to do is, if you just hit it solid, if the canyon's here, or you got the 18th hole of Pebble and Ocean to your left, you don't want to hit it to the left. But you don't want to hit it, I'm sure you've all played it, you don't want to hit it in the houses. So I usually hit a 2-iron or 3-wood. I try and use a percentage, because if I hit a perfect drive, I've still got 280, 70 yards to go, and there are a handful of guys that can knock it on that green, but that's a hole I absolutely hate. So I don't want to make a 4 one day and a 7 the next. So I try and make 4.5 or 5. So when you're out there, it's the same swing. So if I'm on a par 3 and it's 200 yards and there's a canyon in front, not a big deal. If there's a canyon in front that sweeps around to the left, it's still not a big deal. When it sweeps to the right, most of my shots go to the right, then I've got to really concentrate, and I just make sure that I don't miss it over there. I don't know, what more, you're driving and some guy cuts you off, you scream and yell at him. If I'm playing a hole and I pull hook it in the ocean, you're an idiot. But if you're doing everything correctly, and all of a sudden, some guy swerves in your lane, you have time to move your car out of the way. In golf, you got plenty of time to think about the shot, but you don't want to stand over it and think, if I don't hit this good, it won't carry the canyon. You don't think about that when there isn't a canyon. So, if your handicap's lower or higher, you still want to be positive and make a good swing. That's what you're trying to do. You're just trying to hit it solid. And try and get the bad thoughts out of your mind. Yes?
When you hit a high ball to the green, do you intentionally put spin, or is that a result of a good swing?
putting spin on the ball, everyone puts spin on the ball. But we, with our speed and angle of attack, we spin the ball, meaning when it hits the green, it will spin. I am more where my ball hits and stops, but I'm not like, you know, Greg Norman used to be, or Phil, where their balls are actually hitting and backing up. So my attack is kind of steep, but I hit the ball where it goes, and it goes high, and then it comes down soft. And I think, you know, when you're coming in with a 9-iron and you hold this angle and you attack the ball, it's spinning a lot, versus when you come in and you're more, help me out here.
Quiet hands.
Quiet hands. So you're coming in and the ball is just going to go and then come down soft. And then when you flip at, you know, bad shots are when you flip at them. Then it's more of a spank, and it's kind of a top. When you see guys that are hitting top spin, you know, that's more of a result of kind of what they say, flipping at it. And then when you see even like stronger players, a lot of it will be equipment, but they hit the ball and it looks like it's going a mile, but they're hitting with so much spin that it actually rises. That's just not getting an angle like Mike or I or some really good players. But when you do get it and you work hard, that's how you get distance. It's all done with the longer, even if you're John Daly, when you get the club here, that doesn't mean it's coming this way. It's still, it's the craziest thing. You get there and then he's holding that angle and then it's going through so quickly. Whereas someone like Larry Mize or Nick Faldo, their swings are more rounded and they come in, they're extremely accurate. And what you want to do, everyone wants distance. But the only way you can come out and hit it further is to do a lot of things. But one is get, you know, a little more power. If you're able, you can get less loft on your driver. But I think you want to hit your 5-iron further too. So, you know, you don't bend your 5 to a 4. You just have to pick up a few more piles of energy, and it's hard to do. It takes a lot of effort.
You say swing speed. To us, it looks like you're just swinging so darn easy. On a scale like 1 to 10, how hard do you feel it?
You know, and I will answer that the same. Probably 75 or 80%. And Tiger said he's never, unless he makes that wild driver swing, he's 80%. And I was kind of shocked by that. And I mean, he's not, you know, when he hits 2 and 3 irons, it looks like he's going at it harder, but he says most of the time he's 75 or 80%. And again, it's a little misleading, but ideally, if I was really playing well, my swing becomes a little shorter and quicker, but it's still the same. And when I get to going bad, I get a little timid and I hesitate on trying to hit it dead straight, so then I try and cut it. And I try and do that by, you know, my swing gets a little longer and I actually slow down. But as far as hitting it harder, I very rarely do that. My swing will get better, so it'll be more compact. But for me to come out and watch you hit some and say, you know, all right, really hit one hard, that's, I mean, we're talking about 2 or 3 yards. Well, I'm not trying to get you to hit a 5-iron 180 to now 190. That's why we have all these clubs. So people misinterpret a lot. It's easy to misinterpret things in golf. And when you get, you know, really good players, they'll say, oh, that's baloney, look how hard he's swinging. But when you're actually swinging that way, you know, you're not trying to hit it 100%.
Do you ever get intimidated out there? Like myself, I play with some low handicappers. Mainly you get up there and they boom the ball straight down there, you're 250.
Right. You know, I get intimidated by holes. You know, I actually don't play a few tournaments because I don't want to play every week anyway. But I could go play at the old Doral and be 5 under par on 17 holes. In the 3rd hole, I double it every single time.
So is that mental or is it just?
Sure, I'm mental midget. Yeah. And you go look at the hole. It's the most simple hole. And then, you know, then the next hole's 240 a par 3, and you know, there's just stretches. And then there are other courses, you know, like I laugh. I mean, at Augusta National, you know, I was telling Butch the other day, we were talking, and he said they're not making many changes at Augusta this year. I laughed. You know, I said, well, they've already made enough, but I would like every hole to be lengthened 10 more yards. I just love the place. It fits my eye. The length is irrelevant. but there are certain spots, and there's not a golf. I mean, Tiger is intimidating, and don't kid yourself. If I'm playing with him next year at San Diego, we're tied going into Sunday. I'd be an idiot to sit here and, I'm not intimidated at all. But it's once you get out there, and then if you stay even with him for however long you can, and then, you get to a par 5, it's a little intimidating when he hits it. There are other guys like Bubba Watson, they're a long hitter. But, they're not known for their games yet. I mean, but when you're playing with Tiger and you see he's hitting a wedge to a hole, and you've just killed the drive, he's 20 yards ahead of you, that gets intimidating, but not, I mean, I've been doing it long enough, but he himself is intimidating. Phil, Ernie, Goosen, those guys there's no one intimidating. And I think that's a huge, besides being the best player, the best driver, the best long iron player, the best mid iron player, the best short game, he's fun to play. There is so much going on. You play with Phil, you get a few camera guys. You play with Tiger, you get every now and then you get stops and some guy will move on it, but it takes a while to get used to it. It really does. He is oblivious to it all. He couldn't care less if there's 50 people behind you, or there's 2. And that's a huge advantage, because every time you play with him, you look at these guys, there's some deal that when he's paired in a group, he's like 2% of the time he's got someone shot a lower score. 2%, out of 100 rounds, that means you and I, at Phoenix and Chicago, shot 69 when he shot 70. It's ridiculous. But he's ahead before he tees off. But still, he is so good. It's just it's fun to watch. I mean, he's light years ahead of. Fierik's the number 2 player, and Mickelson, and light years.
You're pretty damn good
Well,
yourself.
I'm shooting for one more good year next year. So, Quinter, you got to have a question.
I'll ask you the one I asked.
What's our favorite restaurant to go to on the road?
Not Mexican.
Right.
Mexican. Freddie, I asked you one time how we've all seen you hit like one bad shot, or a lot of pros hit one bad shot, but you almost never see a pro hit 2 bad shots. Yeah, guys like us go out there, you practice for an hour, practice for 4 hours, whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5 bad shots in a row. How do you get over a bad shot?
That's a great question. How do you get over a bad shot? Good players, whether they're 2 or 5 handicaps, hit less. Higher handicaps, when they start out poorly, seem to struggle all day. And I think that the best thing about a handful of pros is that most of them know their swings, so they know ball flight. So, it's such an easy fix. If you go out there and if you pull hook one into the left trees, they say, you came over the top of it, you were too quick. So then you slow your swing down the next time and you come through and you block it way to the right. I mean, that's something an amateur will do. We know from the time you hit the ball by the flight of it. So don't kid yourself. When you see Johnny Miller, I bring him up, or Peter Costas, when they show a guy swing and then they say, here's why he hit it to the right or left, if they didn't know where the ball went, they would have no idea. It's impossible. Well, it's impossible to tell. Now the greatest thing, I don't even know what it's called, it's that thing where they show where they actually slow-mo the camera and the ball making contact. For a golfer, they're doing it in baseball too, that's a cool thing. So when you see that, sometimes you'll actually see the ball, and because it's slightly mishit, the face will open up and then close. But as far as physically seeing this stuff, it's impossible. I mean, I could stand here and hit balls all day long and pull some and push some, and if you give me a 2-iron, they're going to be bigger pulls and bigger pushes, but my swing feels the exact same. It's just where the club head's going. So amateurs, I think they can't click it back. So when you start to cut across the ball or start hitting them fat, you've got a long way to go to narrow it down. Whereas ours are, I mean, you're going to see some bad shots, but ours are mishits, and then what happens is a lot of guys will worry about it on the course, and then the ones that don't play well, they still get it in the hole with 70 or 71, then they go on the range and they work it out. the last thing you want to do is, you know, be out there playing, and you'll be playing with someone, and you know, have the guy in the middle of the fairway doing all this stuff. You know he's in trouble from the get-go, and you don't see much of that. You don't see guys worrying about it. And I think for amateurs, it's very hard to flip it around. You all want to get off to a good start, so do we, but we can turn. You know, if you're 1 over par after 5 holes, and you're hitting the ball well, you don't really worry about it. But if you're 1 over par after 5, and you're getting it up and down, it's a struggle. It's no different from us or you.
I was just saying, are you able to stop in your backswing on pictures like Tiger does?
I've never done it. No, I don't know. It's almost like he's setting it up. I hate that. But he gets up there hitting the drive, and then he stops. I have no idea how he can do it.
How does that happen? They say he has so much concentration, and for something to trigger, I know if he kept the motions going, and like people moving around and it stays constant, you can play with that. It's just because of the abrupt.
You know, the only thing he said, I mean, I don't know, I've never seen anyone do it. You know, some people will be a little bit, and then they'll hear a click, you know, and the camera guy's going to make a little mistake, but he changed the direction. Once I mean, it's, you know, he can do it. But the other day when he was doing that thing, he said, you know, when I'm out there, I know who I'm playing with, and I don't try and be mean, but I am out there to focus on every single shot. And when I am not at my best, I am still giving it 120%, and I don't even know what the other guys are doing. He says, you know, some guy makes an eagle on a hole, I know what's going on, but my job is to worry about, you know, the first tee to the 18th hole, and I'm so focused on what I'm doing that I don't really want to have conversations. As soon as the round's over, I'll go do whatever anyone wants to do, but he says, when I'm on the course, I don't know many, you know, Nicholas is like that, you know, Ray Floyd, but I've played a lot. They all, and he'll talk to you. When he knows certain guys, he will talk. But when he's on the course, he is just, you know, he will not shake someone's hand. He won't look at anyone. He doesn't want to, you know, strike. You know, he's got friends everywhere. When he goes to them, then everyone wants a piece of him, and he has chosen to go the other way. It's not rude. It's just that he is mentally focused, and it's, you know, it's a pretty good way of doing it if you can do it. Yeah, I can do it for maybe, you know, a hole or two. No, I mean, everyone, you know, you always want to be that way, but it's just ingrained. And he even says, you know, my father started me out this way, and this is the way I've been.
Who do you like to be paired with the most on the tour?
Well, like Davis Love would be ideal.
All of us.
Anyone I know I can beat. But Davis is, I've been friends with Davis, and we've played a lot. Not so much lately, but he's the greatest guy. Jay Haas, who's now on the senior tour a little bit. What I like following around and talking to are the younger guys on the tour. You know, just give them a little confidence, and when I play with them, you know, after the round, I always, geez, you're a great player, and keep it up. But there's so many good young players. I mean, you can do that all day. But it is fun, and believe me, on Tuesday night when the pairings come out, I don't know of many players that don't look and find out when they come out, because you always, you know, and sometimes it's sad, but you know, you get a bad pairing and you don't really look forward to it. I know that's not right to say, but, and I won't get into who those guys are. There are a few. And there are a few that probably hate me, too. Yeah. How are we doing? One more question? Yes, sir.
Why don't more pros live in Santa Barbara?
You know, I tried to find another spot. It's a pretty expensive place here to come in. But I think we've had, well, Geiberger used to have it. I used to come up here in the early 80s and play in the thing he had at Montecito Country Club. And I'll never forget coming in here, and we'd get in at nighttime, and you wake up, and you'd overlook, you know, what a spot. What a spot. But I don't know any other guys who have been up here.
Freddie, is there any other local courses that you could change that the PGA might be interested in coming here?
Well, you know, this one is as good as Torrey Pines, and Torrey Pines has been redone, and they're having a U.S. Open next year, 2 years.
Oh, wait.
I mean, this course here could easily, you know, with some renovation, have a U.S. Open. You know, I love Rancho. I joined at the Valley Club just because it doesn't, you know, get a whole lot of play. And but I come out here a lot and play, and I used to go to Rancho a lot. But I think they talked about having a nationwide tour event, and I believe it's, you know, a gallery. They want to have a lot of people come out, but if they had an Open, there's plenty of hotels and people, you know, come. They could get 30,000 people easily. But I think this would be the course that would hold a tournament pretty easily. I mean, it would have to be redone. Again, Torrey Pines was totally redone, and it's incredible. But this would, you know, they would certainly. Beth Page in New York, you know, they rebuilt to have a U.S. Open, and the USGA loves, you know, having public golf courses now. It's a great thing. So, yes. No. I'll play LA, hopefully, and Augusta, but no, can't do it. Yeah. Yes, sir.
They're always talking about, you know, we're talking about lengthening courses and stuff. They're always calling it tiger proof, you know, and making it longer and longer. Well, a lot of people are trying to say maybe we should just shorten them back up and make them narrower and more shot makers courses. Would that be, what do you think about that? I mean, they make them longer, it's taking more people out of the equation.
You know, you're exactly right. The question was lengthening courses to tiger proof them. It's actually,
it's hurting everybody.
It's making them, you know, the better players right now are really the longer hitters.
Because of the way the courses are designed.
Right. I mean, and they shoot lower scores because they're longer and tougher. And in the old days, it was a huge mix. But it's usually what they can do to these courses. So, for instance, most par threes, you know, they don't lengthen them, and we don't want to play 240-yard par threes. But it's almost like they're lengthening the wrong holes. You know, so to lengthen. If this course is 7,200 yards, and someone came out here and said we need 7,400 yards, you know, ideally you just make it a par 70, and you play 2 par 5s as real tough par 4s instead of making these holes, you know, the average guy just can't play. And then, you know, when a tournament comes, but all these U.S. Opens and PGAs, they're all trying to outdo each other. Yeah. And Augusta is outdone everybody.
I mean, watching the ball go 340 yards where you guys said it's great, but I'd rather see a shot maker.
We were just talking. Now, who do you like?
After the Dodgers, I think Detroit's going to win the whole thing.
No, Open's going to win.
Detroit's got a pitch that's 102 miles an hour.
Right. Open's got Frank Thomas.
Ooh. No Bradley.
Yeah.
He'll explode. Yeah, he did.
You see what do you do? You drop the cup on the wire?
Yeah. Why does he have to go back and? Why does he have to go back and change?
He didn't even do anything. Power up above his shelf. Just the sign where he did something popped up and down and said, kind of grab it. He didn't even crazy. What they?
Here we go. You guys want to go first? All right. Yeah, you're going to lead us off. Keep the rotation.
Well, it hasn't been very good so far.
Right up there.
Yeah, come
Get in.
on.
Get in. I wish you were at the green.
Did you want me to be rolling on that?
What a time to do it.
Oh, God, what a great shot.
that one, Jared. Put that on the 10 o'clock.
Whole group can come up at one time. And they are closest to the pin on number 4, Mike Lopez. On number 6, on number 11, Daniel Dutrill.
Yeah.